Welcome to the regular season is almost here edition of Sharing Sox. I'm Southside Sox duty geezer Leigh Allan. With me, my son and current downtown Chicago correspondent Will, getting ready for tech, as they call it in the theater game. As you had to opening night almost the same time baseball does. That's pretty good there.
That's
That you
true.
timed it that way. The famous cherry orchard version of baseball that was predicted by the Russians. About to go. We got two more spring training games, both against the Cubs. We're recording this on Monday around noontime, so before that game's played. And then it's Houston for 4 games and back home to a partially empty stadium for opening day. Thousands of seats still available. I checked just before we went on. Many thousands of seats, especially the upper deck, of course, but even some on the lower deck. But some things coming down. They've
Hold
made
on.
this
First, I have to interrupt because I love being right. And last week we talked about, or 2 weeks ago we talked about the 14-2 Kansas City Royals. I predicted that when we'd meet up again, I wasn't sure about the date, so I said 16-12. The Royals have come back to earth. I got the loss column right. They are 19-12.
That still will take the division.
So it is very much a far more realistic ending to spring training for the Royals, who, unfortunately for them, I do not consider a threat. But yes, go on.
All right. So we had come out in the last 24 hours or so some of the roster announcements. Not a final yet on pitching, although they say they're keeping Gregory Santos and his career 11 ERA. Who had a good spring. In fairness, in the 7 or 8 innings that he pitched, 9 in the third, and only gave up 2 earned runs in that time. So maybe you learned something. But the big one is Leury is gone. That they apparently, from all sources, told Leury that he will not be on the opening day roster. And as we were talking before we went on the air, I predict he will now say, no, I'm not going to Charlotte. And then they will put him on waivers. I mean, he has that right with his experience. And they will put him on waivers. Nobody will take him on waivers because nobody wants to pay $11 million over 2 years for a mediocre utility man. And that means when that's done, he's a free agent and somebody will take him because the White Sox are stuck for the $11 million and somebody can get him for major league minimum. And he's a very good fine for major league minimum. Very good.
Yeah.
Some team will pick him up for sure.
He's a deal at the minimum, no doubt about it. He is worth the minimum. Which is also what people say about me when I'm on stage. They're like, "Oh, he's worth the minimum."
One of the things, I mean, many of us were complaining at great length last year. First of all, about the contract that the Sox gave him was insane. I mean, Rick Hahn does many, many really stupid things, and that's one of the stupidest, although it could have been a Tony La Russa, I got to have this guy because I'm in love with him thing. But at any rate, yes, we wanted to get rid of him, but given who we got rid of him for, I'm not sure it was such a good deal. The 2 guys they've said that they are keeping, Hanser Alberto, who had an excellent spring, and he hit 450 with a 1.276 ops. I mean, that's good. He is, however, a career person who has not hit right-handed pitching when it counts. It's 272 hitter lifetime, which is great for a middle infielder. But against right-handed pitching, 235 and a 590 OPS. So he doesn't hit right-handers at all. And the other guy, and this is the one I'm sorry, and Alberto may be good. Maybe he learned something about hitting a slider from a right-hander or something. Romy González, lifetime 238 here, not much lifetime, just 2 partial seasons. Against right-handed pitching, 196 hitter.
Woo!
And the White Sox need somebody to hit against right-handers, 196 hitter. And he apparently is going to be the everyman. And they have no center fielder other than Luis. Apparently in today's game, preseason game, Oscar Colas is going to play center field, but that would mean that presumably, oh gosh, I don't know, some hot dog vendor plays right field. Unless we go back to Gavin Sheets. They haven't said anything about Gavin yet, which is interesting. Because with
Yeah,
two new left-handed hitting outfielders, do they need Gavin Sheets? They got to have somebody as a backup at first base, though, which is odd because we had 14 people to back up at first base last year.
what do you do with Gavin Sheets then? What do you?
I guess he plays when Andrew Vaughn doesn't, and Vaughn, frankly, doesn't play all that much, And I mean, he's already had days off in spring training. People going, well, since he's at first base, it won't be as exhausting. The heck with that. Left field, you get what, half a dozen plays a game, maybe? Yes, you have to run farther, faster, or try to be
If
faster.
that, if that.
At first base, you're constantly in action. Even if it's not a ground ball, even if it's something the outfield, you're the cutoff man. You got to be in motion. You got to be moving all the time. You got the throws over on pickoff plays. You got foul balls to chase. He's going to be less tired because of that. Nuts. He hasn't been worth anything the second half of the first two seasons. I just hope he lasts the All-Star game this time.
I'm not as concerned about that. I've mentioned this before. I think when he's back at first base, he's going to kind of be a different player. Yes, I totally agree with what you're saying about first base being far more work than left field. There's no doubt about that. But when you get these guys in the positions they're more comfortable in, maybe we see a little less hesitancy. Maybe we see some more accurate training and preparing for the season. I think Andrew Vaughn is going to play a majority of the games, a vast majority of the games at first base. The issue is, if Gavin Sheets needs to step in as your right fielder, well, I'm hitting the ball to right field all day, all night. I mean, Gavin Sheets is not horrific out there, but he's one step below horrific in right field. So I'd be ready to go. I'd be ready to slap it the other way if I'm a right-handed batter.
I don't understand why keep Gonzalez. You've got the infielder in Alberto. Gonzalez has got options. You can send him to the minors. Adam Hazley has been almost as hot as Alberto this spring. He's hitting extremely well. Plays all three outfield positions, left and right, very well. Center pretty well, much better than any other alternative they've got besides Luis. Why isn't Hazley in there instead? I know Sheets is more of a home run threat, but who's he going to pinch hit for? If you're left-handed pinch hitter, the DH is universal now, so it doesn't come into play in the National League parks anymore. He's got one right-handed hitter that he's better than, probably Elvis Andrus. You might possibly find a way for him to pitch hit for Andrus, in which case Alberto then has to come in and play second base anyway. But
yeah,
I'm just at a loss. You're not going to pinch in for Tim or for Luis or for Vaughn.
Have they already
if he's in?
Did they already say? I can't remember that Hazley's not on the team.
No. I mean, okay. But the apparently what big announcements are that Romy is going to be on and Alberto is going to be on. Again, Alberto makes sense, even though he doesn't hit right-handers historically. Maybe he learned something at the age of 30.
Still hits better than 190 or whatever. So yeah.
But that still leaves the one slot because they haven't said anything about Sheets yet. Sheets is playing in this afternoon's game. So is Hazley. I don't know. I mean, I don't get it. The Romy González thing, I understand he's very versatile. They've been playing him every place on the field except catcher. He's not really good at any of them, but he's adequate at all of them. I don't know. I'm just not a Romy González fan. I don't see it.
If this were a different team, I would expect
right-handed pitchers at 196.
Yeah, that's not going to do it. I mean, maybe they see something in him right now that we don't. I don't know what special vision they have that we don't see.
He's hit 4 homers this spring, which is, a lot for the limited at bats that you get, but it's also spring.
Yeah.
And you're facing pitchers who either are headed to AA or who are just working on their pitch. I'm sure you see many fewer breaking pitches than you will see during the course of regular season.
For sure.
Guys just trying to get in the groove with their timing and figure out the pitch clock and all that kind of stuff. I don't get it. Of course, they can send him down on April 4th if they want. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I wonder, is there anything you can do with Sheets that doesn't involve just sending him down? Can you try to get rid of him? Can you try to?
You can try to trade him, of course.
Because maybe there's someone out there who just wants the lefty bat. You're not going to get much. You're going to get virtually nothing. But maybe there's a possibility that you can get sort of a low-ranking prospect, or something like that. I don't know what this decision is they're waiting to make on Hazley and Sheets. I mean, if you look at the spring body of work, it has to be Hazley. If you look at logic, it has to be Hazley. I don't see any world where Sheets makes any sense to be on this team this year. Fans seem pretty indifferent to Sheets at best. I mean, it's not like he's a fan favorite.
He can hit the ball 500 feet, but that doesn't matter. If it goes a foot over the top of the fence or it goes 500 feet, it counts exactly the same.
Yeah. And also hitting at 500 feet once a month is not extremely valuable in Major League Baseball. We're going to see maybe a little bit of a shift in how the game is played with new rules and the shift rules. But, with a guy like
Which
Sheets,
will help him. He's a pull hitting left-hander.
But it's not going to help them because they have already learned how to do this. They are going to bring the center fielder into that position or the left fielder, and they're going to play 2 outfielders and have where the second baseman used to stand on a left-handed hitter. They're just going to have the left fielder over there. And there's nothing you can do about that. They made new rules, and Major League Baseball said, okay, fine. Gavin Sheets is not going to start popping bloop singles to the left side of the diamond. He doesn't know how to do it. He's not going to do it.
He got some hits to the left side that I can picture from last year, but they were ground balls. And so with 2 guys over on that side at the infield, those aren't hits anymore.
Exactly. The shortstop and the third baseman, they're going to be shifted a tiny bit, but the shortstop can't go to the other side of second base. So you're going to see a virtually true infield. You're going to see 2 outfielders, probably the 2 best ones, the right fielder and the center fielder play right center and sort of a very mild left center. And then you're going to have the left fielder over where the second baseman used to be. Yes, Gavin Sheets hit a couple balls to the other side of the field last year. If you held a gun to my head and said, was it intentional or unintentional? Your life depends on it. I'm going to pick unintentional every single time. As you said, they were ground balls. They tended not to be really beautiful liners down the left field line. So I think we're in a situation where Gavin Sheets is essentially going to be completely neutralized by how the new defenses will work. He is the worst kind of guy for how they're going to play with these new shift rules. I see a world where Gavin Sheets is potentially hitting in the mid 100s for much of this season because he's just got nowhere to put the ball. And they're still going to have a guy in left center-ish. So even if it's going to be the center fielder, it's going to be the best outfielder. So you're going to have a guy who can cover a ton of ground playing over there. Unless Gavin Sheets can figure out some form of hitting to the opposite field that we've never, ever, ever seen from him, he is completely neutralized. I don't see any sort of world where that guy bats anywhere near 250 even. I mean, he's just not a great hitter. And to have not a great hitter with this new lineup, that's going to be really, really tough. There's no space for him. If it were
And we
me,
have more left-handers. And previously,
yes.
soccer was so right-hand heavy, but they're not. I mean, now in your starting lineup, your typical starting lineup, you're going with two left-handed batters and Benintendi and Calas, and two switch hitters in Moncada and Grandal. So you've got four left-handed bats against a right-handed pitcher. You're not desperate for left-handed hitting anymore.
Not at all. I mean, four left-handed bats and five right-handed bats is about as good of a scenario as you can have for that in Major League Baseball these days. We've seen the White Sox throw up sort of 8.5 right-handed batters for a lot of the last 2 years. So we're not pinched for lefties in any way, shape, or form this year. We are pinched for decent defense and getting guys on base. Gavin Sheets doesn't really get on base all that well, and he is a terrible defender. We should take our break here, though. We will come back. We'll continue talking about this lineup and some more of
Got to do predictions.
our predictions. If you read the Geezer's article, you will see that he boldly predicted about an 82-win season when all things are said and done.
That's with including fan exuberance as one of the games.
And I saw in the comments that some people think you were actually conservative on some of your lost wins based on certain aspects. But 82 wins was your prediction in the article, although that was before these roster changes. So I'm interested to see how that changes for you. But yeah, come back for our predictions. We will be right back on Sharing Sox. Welcome back to Sharing Sox. In the first half, we discussed some roster moves. Now we're going to look into the season as a whole, because the next time we will be on here, they will have played some actual Major League Baseball games that count. So you had 82-win prediction in your article before the roster moves, and we still have some roster moves to make, but they're almost done. What are you looking at now?
I think 82 is still possible. The Fangraphs and Pacoda both came out with updated predictions in the last 2 or 3 days. So they're including what they've seen in the spring, injuries to opposing players. Sox, knock on wood, have had some minor stuff. Moncada's out for a little bit. Vaughn's been out for a little bit. Bummer has been hurt as always. But we haven't lost anybody for the season. We of course started with Hendricks,
but
down until June probably, but we haven't extended any new injury problems in there, whereas other teams have lost some very important people. Anyhow, Fangraphs and Pacoda both go for the Sox at about 79 wins, 79 and change. Fangraphs has them in third place with that. Pacoda has them in second. No, third, but one has Cleveland at the top, one has Minnesota at the top. Fangraphs has them 4 games behind. Pacoda, I think, 9 games behind by the end of the season. So, and then I looked at another thing I've never seen before called Opta Analyst, and they ranked all the teams 1 through 30 in various categories. And the Sox are kind of dead average. There's your 81 or 82 wins again. They give the rotation 12th. That's fair. That may be even low. The pen 19 or 18th or 19th. So pitching 15th overall. So yeah, dead average. The offense 17th. So the team overall 18th. That's not a lot of faith from people who have much more knowledge than we do.
Of course, those are predictions. Predictions are not worth much. If you've seen any basketball in the last 2 weeks, you know that predictions can go horribly awry.
Okay, now I did mine in my article. I went point by point. You get bunches of new games because of the new manager. You lose a bunch of games because Jose is gone, and then adjustments for injuries and people doing better or people doing worse and that kind of thing. How it ended up with that. Now, I ended up with 81 actually, and then I added one just because I'm a fan. But where are you going with this?
Well, for me, it all comes down to the starting pitchers. I expect Cease to be very, very good again. He had the one absurd outing where he probably was trying a knuckleball or something because he just got absolutely shellacked in a spring training game. That's not going to happen again. I mean, it might happen once in the whole year, but it still won't happen that he will get 11 runs in
And I
two-thirds
think
of
an
an
inning and a third, something like that.
Not even. It was two-thirds of
Well,
one inning.
he had two-thirds of an inning because they took him
Right,
out.
right.
It's one of those spring training things. They took him out and brought him back. So all told, for the 11 runs, he had an inning, but otherwise than that, he's been fine.
So for me, it really comes down to this starting rotation. If Cease is as good as he can be, that's likely to happen. If Giolito comes back a little bit, he doesn't have to come back a ton. He wasn't horrible last year, but he does need to go back to a little bit more of the Giolito we were expecting, which could happen with the pitch clock. I think that could actually work to Giolito's advantage, working a little faster. Lance Lynn should be interesting. We haven't seen a ton of Lance Lynn because he was away in the World Baseball Classic and didn't pitch all that much. He was fine in the Classic.
Very good, yeah.
Yeah, he was very solid. If Kopech is 70% of what Kopech can be, we're going to be in a great place. If he's 80%, if he's 90%, if he can stay healthy, and then
that's the big one there.
And then he who should not be named, I would expect him to not even be a starter for the White Sox by the end of the year. I haven't seen anything really impressive from him. He hasn't faced real good hitters yet. He will be facing them, and I think we can expect a very mediocre ERA around 5 season from him. If all of those things happen, I think the White Sox are a better rotation than 12th from that projection you just named. I think that if the White Sox top 4 are on, you're looking actually at a rotation close to the top 5 in all of baseball. But that all has to happen. If all of that happens, I am predicting the White Sox at 89 wins.
What?
If all of that happens, if all of that happens.
Okay, well, that's the thing. When you make a prediction such as mine at 82, you're actually saying that's the 50 percentile. So you're creating a range of probably 76 to 89. So that would, the very top percentile on mine would be up there, but I don't believe that can happen.
I think if that doesn't happen, if we don't see a comeback from Giolito, if Kopech gets hurt, if Lance Lynn has a few too many post-game beers, then I think we could be looking at a very miserable 71 to 72 win season.
Oh, so you're going for the really big range. Well, I guarantee it'll be in your range somewhere.
I can't even guarantee that, but I certainly hope so for the sake of giving us something to watch this summer. I think, I mean, your prediction, as we learned from the 538 guys, at being about 500 is as baseball-y of a prediction as you could give.
Incidentally, 538 has not predicted yet. I don't know when they're going to start. I don't know if they wait till the day before opening day or what. They've posted nothing yet as of the time we're recording this.
Well, I do really think this season is more up in the air than the previous two. The previous two, it certainly felt like we were going in ready to be a losing ball club. I can't remember who was running the clubhouse then, but it was somebody that I don't think did a very good job. But with Pedro Grifol, I think we're going to see a little bit of a shift here. I do expect the team to be playing harder, to be playing smarter. We might not see it right away. We might be in for a little bit of a sticky April here. But I do think there's a chance that this could be close to a 90-win team if the starting pitching stays healthy. And I will also add a big and if the relief corps can do anything. You said they listed the bullpen at 18th or 19th.
Yeah, somewhere there.
I think that's a really good ranking right now.
Last year, going into the season, most of the write-ups had the bullpen in the top 5. Some in the top 3. I think one had them as the best bullpen of baseball. Oh, so certainly the most expensive in the history of baseball. Thank you, Rick. The final rankings had them 20th or so. depending, you can measure different ways. So it wasn't exactly
And
20 with everybody.
that's with Liam Hendriks.
And that's with Liam Hendriks and with some guys doing better than expected. Ronaldo, for example, doing much better than expected. My feeling on the starting pitching is Cease will be worse. Not that he'll be bad. I think he'll be very good. I think that's just such a high bar to try to hit that he won't hit it again. It's hard to do. I think Giolito will be better. So I think that plays off flat. Lynn, I don't guess Lynn stays healthy all season. I'm sure he'll be fine when he's pitching, but I don't think he stays healthy. I don't think Kovac stays healthy. He'll be fine when he's pitching too, although he's had kind of a rough spring. He's the only one that's had a rough spring. And then the other guy, he's and forgetting all the personal stuff about it. Again, I go back to second Tommy John surgery, which he's just coming back from. Only 60% make it back to the majors or themselves, as opposed to well over 80% on the first one. And those who do make it last an average of about 70 or 80 innings, and they're done. He pitched 80 innings last year back from surgery, very well, and then fell completely apart in August and had an ERA like 160 in the playoffs. It goes exactly to what the doctors are saying. And I read the medical stuff, not that I really understand it, but it has to do with where you tie in the ligament. Scar tissue develops from the first operation, and it's very difficult to work around. If they get lucky, they can work around it. And there are guys who've had two Tommy Johns who, go on for a decade of good baseball. It's just not common.
Yeah, that's true. And that's why I think I don't think he will be a starter for a Major League Baseball team in August or September. I truly don't. I think he'll survive until then with an ERA in the 4.5, 5 range, and then just kind of implode. And I'll be happy to see it. I don't know who we will get to replace him, but I will be happy to see him be replaced. I think a lot of this season is going to fall on Ronaldo Lopez. Fortunately, I think Ronaldo Lopez is up for the challenge. He is a workhorse. He can eat innings. He's gotten better every year. I think he is kind of the X factor, because if one of these starters is not up to snuff, he's going to be pitching a lot. He's going to be pitching a lot of 2-3 inning outings, multiple times a week. The rest of the bullpen is truly lackluster. I mean, Kendall Graveman can be very good. He can come out and be excellent, but we also see him walk guys. He gives up a lot of hits. I think he's a decent closer to replace Hendriks until we can get Hendriks back, but I don't think he's more than that. Bummer.
Apparently we're not. Yeah, they're not talking, and I like this because I think the closer mystique is way the hell overblown in 90% of cases. The other 10%, it's for real. But most of the time, it's overblown. And Grifal's saying we're going to go with the situation, which means two things to me. One, it could be a different guy on purpose in the ninth, but otherwise, if let's say Graveman is pitching the best of anybody in the 7th inning, when there are two guys on base and nobody out, and the middle of the order, you don't wait and say, "Oh well, he's my closer. I can't pitch him till the 9th," and throw Jake Diekman out there.
Oh gosh! Every time you remind me about Jake Diekman, I get bummed out. Jake Diekman is terrible. I honestly, with Joe Kelly and Jake Diekman, even listing our bullpen at 18th is extremely forgiving when it doesn't have Liam Hendriks. I mean, when do you pitch Joe Kelly? When do you pitch him? When do you put him out there?
Kelly at least has had times when he's been good in the past. Diekman, I don't even know.
In the past, in the distant past. I mean, we haven't seen Joe Kelly be lights out since he was, getting in fights in Boston and LA. He is. I hope he's good, but why would he be?
Okay, you talked about health of pitchers, which is obviously critical. Health of position players, because if they go down, there is. I mean, we that's what we started talking about. And you're going to have Romy González come out there and replace who? Luis Robert? He's going to take his place. He's going to take Yohan Moncada's place. If these guys get hurt, whoo.
Yeah, I mean,
and everybody talks about that, the absolute shallowness of the whole organization.
Oh, of course. I mean, it's a challenge of any organization, really. But for us in particular, I do think because it is such a mental game, we're going to see fewer injuries under the new administration than we have seen in the past, because we have a guy who cares about fundamentals and cares about playing the game the right way. And it's tough when your legs hurting a little bit and you hate showing up for work every day. You're less likely to want to show up for work. But if you really love the environment, love the team, want to support your team, you're going to get out there a little bit more. You're going to work through things a little bit more. You're going to take less time off. You're going to feel more comfortable when you're in the field, knowing that everybody's on the same page. Everybody knows how to play the game. I do actually think we're going to see more play from Robert, more play from Anderson, more play from Vaughn, more play from Moncada, potentially more from Eloy, but hopefully in the DH spot. And that will make a huge difference. But yes, if with any injuries in any aspect of this team, if everybody's healthy the whole year and plays decently, that's where I'm getting to my 89 wins, my 90 wins.
I won't disagree with that. I just don't believe that happens. I mean, injuries are always part of the game for anybody.
Yes.
And last year, the Sox, we moaned and groaned. Really, they were just slightly worse than average. They were very, very near to average. And in pitching, much better health than average. And that, I figure, is going to come back and haunt.
Yeah, we had a lot of really healthy bad pitchers last year. Yeah, we did.
Well, the starting pitchers were once Lynn came back, Giolito only missed 2 starts.
Yeah,
at the start of the season. Lynn took a while longer to come back and was bad for a while when he did come back. But I did that in my write-up. They did over 140 starts. If you include Cueto as being the second half of the Keuchel debacle, but Keuchel Cueto, he just came in for Keuchel and they finished off. Had all those guys in over 140 starts. I would think that at least half a dozen, maybe probably more, of Davis Martin's starts were because of double headers, where you had the 27th man and you brought him in. So almost very, very little starting pitching time. Kopech a little at the end of the year. That's very lucky and very unlikely to happen again.
That is correct. You're right, 100%. But I'm going to put the good juju out there, and I just hope they stay healthy. We are coming to the end of our time for this week. I do want to touch on, just briefly, for all the haters out there, the World Baseball Classic, which wrapped up since the last time we were on here. It was incredible. We have so many people on Twitter griping about the World Baseball Classic. It's pointless. No one likes it. Oh, it's pointless. These are all just fantasy baseball nerds, gamblers who are idiots, who don't care about the game. They care about their fantasy baseball team. The World Baseball Classic was awesome. It was awesome. And it was such a good thing for baseball at the international level, not only because, of course, you have these guys playing for their countries, but that final at-bat was worth the entire Classic.
Yeah, two best baseball players in the world facing each other.
Two teammates who are the two best baseball players in the world. You've got the coincidence of Mike Trout coming up to bat in the ninth, mixed with the fact that we saw Shohei Ohtani close out a baseball game. I mean, we won't see that again until
where he was the DH for the first 8 innings.
Unbelievable. Just watching him get sent to the bullpen gave me chills.
And back because he's due to come up.
Exactly. It was just incredibly exciting. As a theater person, hearing the American announcers say, as Mike Trout came up to bat, this is theater. This is great theater. I could not agree more. I think theater and baseball are very closely related. They're cousins of each other. And that moment alone chills the entire at bat. Now,
but that was incredible. And that whole game was incredible. It's so well played by both teams.
Beautifully played baseball game.
But it wasn't just that. The U.S. comeback against Venezuela with a grand slam at the end after losing the lead, and then Japan's comeback. I mean, there were just incredible games.
I mean, you've got all these people saying, "Oh, the players don't even really care." Trey Turner has gone on the record saying that grand slam's the best baseball moment of his life, and this is a World Series guy. So, if you need any convincing that the World Baseball Classic is great, watch the clip of Trey Turner's grand slam with the crowd reaction and Trey Turner's reaction, and then watch that last at bat between Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout, who, unfortunately for Mike Trout, who is one of the greatest baseball players of my lifetime, he had no prayer. he was either going to get walked or he was going to strike out, because Shohei Ohtani was not going to lose that at bat, and you could see it in his eyes. When he dropped that 102 pitch in the dirt, I thought, this is it. Mike Trout's a goner. Because if he's throwing 102 in the dirt, the next thing's going to be an immaculate slider that Trout will barely even see. And that is exactly what happened. And the excitement of seeing Mike Trout shaking in his boots against his teammate in a pivotal moment was as good a baseball as you can possibly ask for. I'm sure the Angels fans were thinking, we have both of these guys. How come we are terrible at baseball? Yeah. We are always disappointing, and we have the two most popular and famous guys in the sport, but we suck at baseball. I don't know. Maybe we'll see something from the Angels this year, but I am officially stating, and no one's allowed to argue me, the World Baseball Classic rocks. I think it's only going to get more and more popular as we go forward. It's on that weird 3-year schedule thing, so no one seems to actually know when it's coming or when it's happening.
Well, it was 4, right? But then it got delayed because of COVID, and I'm not sure when the next one is. Right?
I think the plan is every 3 years for the World Baseball Classic, which is off our brains because we're used to the World Cup thing and the Olympic thing. But I think the World Baseball Classic is going to, within the next 10, 15 years, become a marquee athletic event. Baseball is growing in popularity around the world because of it, and because it is an international game. I mean, Major League Baseball is an international sport. We have the best players from all over the world. If you are an elite baseball talent, you come and play in the United States. And to see these guys go to their home countries and then get to play each other for club and country, or whatever they say for soccer, it's truly special. The argument against it is over. Yes, you had the Edwin Diaz injury, which was brutal, but that was as fluky can be. The guy is just jumping up and down. It wasn't like they were doing anything crazy. It was kind of how you celebrate after a good win in May. And they were – it was a total fluke. It sucks for the Mets, who are paying a luxury tax bill that is unfathomable. But overall, great for baseball. It was a real treat. Loved the World Baseball Classic. Got me pumped for Major League Baseball. When was the last time you were sitting here in March thinking, God, baseball, man, baseball in March is electric? Never. Spring training is boring. It's relatively pointless outside of just getting guys kind of in shape for the season. This was a real treat. I loved it. It got me so hyped. It got me hyped. I think my White Sox prediction went from 65 wins to 89 wins because I got so hyped watching real baseball happen in March. I saw how much it mattered. Seeing Yoan Moncada playing at a high level and playing well. He doesn't play well in spring training, but when you put him on that stage,
he was great for Cuba.
He was outstanding. I mean, he kept them in the tournament, and that just it gave me all the warm baseball fuzzies that only baseball and theater can give you. And I am very much looking forward to the start of this season. Go White Sox. Do you have any last words before we sign off?
Go White Sox will do.
Go White Sox. Let's do it. I know we poop on this team quite a bit on this podcast, but you got to know deep down we are White Sox fans through and through, and we will be at the ballpark in just a few short weeks. Many of you will be there before that. Have fun. Enjoy the game. Bring your own snacks. Take the L. Don't give Reinsdorf any more money until he proves to us that he likes us. And we will see you out there. Have fun. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time on Sharing Sox.